To cast off Buddha is to tread the path of evil. It is no longer to be human. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Men of Zen, an anime research podcast. My name is Brent.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Aiden.
Today we are talking about Dororo. Oh, man. I had not seen this before and had been on my list for a long damn time. Aiden finally was like, we should do one of these. And I was like, sure. And I loved every minute of this show. If you like feudal Sengoku era Japanese anime, it's brutal, and this gets even just to the point where I had no idea what this was about. And within the first, I'd say 10 minutes of the first episode, whoa, it is nutty. Aiden, you have a little bit about the show. What is Dororo about?
Yeah, so this show hooked me in from the very beginning. The opening was so beautiful. I love the opening intro for this song. So basically, it takes place during the Sengoku period. Basically, a son is born, and he's born kind of deformed. He's basically missing his limbs, his eyes. I believe he was also deaf and blind at the same time, and he didn't have skin or anything either. He's just missing. He's just kind of basically just almost like a head and a body, essentially.
Right. Oh, man.
Yeah.
They showed what it looked like. He's this little deformed baby with no skin and just empty eye sockets, and you were like, what is this? And that is our main protagonist, is what that weird little near-death fetus is. So Dororo centers around two main characters, actually. Hyakumaru, did I say that right? Hyakimaru, who was a tragically disfigured ronin in feudal Japan, a wandering samurai who has no lord or master. And Dotaro is an orphaned thief that becomes his young child assistant during this. Now, the child that you talk about that's born with no limbs, no eyes, no nothing, as our main protagonist, is nuts. So he, at birth, gets sent down a river by his mother to be saved from his father killing him after his father makes a pact with these demons. So his father is about to become the lord over this land, and he's like, the land is not prosperous anymore. Our crops are dying, our people are dying. We need to start seeking the help of the demons. And these demons, they honor his wish, and they're like, sure, we will help you out, but we're gonna take your firstborn, essentially. And he's like, fine. Now, unfortunately, one of these demons did not finish the ritual and did not get his portion of the child, so the child lived, and the child was then given prosthetic limbs from the remains of children who had died in the war during the Sengoku period, which is a huge, a lengthy period in Japanese history that just was a bloody war, and we will talk about that a little bit later. So, together, Dororo and Hyakimaru, they roam the countryside encountering the various demons that plagued the land once his father made this deal with them. And each demon that they slay, Hyakimaru recovers a missing piece of himself that he was born without. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, this was when I remember you had mentioned something about this, Aiden, probably even years ago, and seeing it, the first couple of minutes of that episode, I was like, oh dang, this is that kid is literally, I thought it was a demon child at first, but no, then finding out, oh no, he just had no skin, no eyes, no nose, couldn't talk, had no limbs, essentially was dead for all intents and purposes, but somehow lived.
He grew up to be badass, though, with his badass, blade arms.
Dude, yeah. So his prosthetic limbs, they can, for at least his arms anyway, he was given this blade that has magical properties for slaying demons, at least in the manga. And this blade is then literally embedded into his arms. So from the forearm down, he can take his arm off like a wooden prosthetic
like
limb.
a sheath, basically.
Yeah, like a sheath. And then underneath it, he just has blade hands. He's like Baraka from Mortal Kombat.
So there was a really cool thing they did in the manga for his prosthetic limbs that they didn't put in the anime. His nose is actually a bomb.
Oh, what?
In the manga, his nose has a mini bomb. He can throw it at people. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. I did not know that. Holy shit! And then we're also getting into the original artist, Osamu Tezuka, who we mentioned in our previous episode. I think it was the Berserk episode that he came up in. He has, again, the honorific of being called the god of manga, or the godfather of manga. And he is a legendary human being in the development of manga as we know it today. He basically coined some of the first art as to what was deemed to be true manga. And in fact, I know we've talked about this numerous times on our show. There's that Tezuka Award. That award is based off of Osamu Tezuka, so it's really crazy. So let's get into a little bit exactly about Dororo. Dororo is the titular character. That is that a young orphan thief who wanders around all on her own, and I do say her. Phil, did you catch that?
Yes, I caught that probably early on. I'm like, they want you to think that she is a boy, the way that she dresses and the way she acts, but she's definitely drawn in the design of their female characters, with the bigger eyes, the more like smooth features. So I kind of guessed that pretty early on, and it was like episode, like 17 to 20. I can't remember which one episode it was, but they were finally like, oh hey, she's a girl, and I saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah, it's so in the show, it's in the manga it was a bigger shock, and they did it in a different way when they revealed that this character that is supposed to be raised as an orphaned boy, Dororo, it actually turns out to be a girl later on, which is not necessarily. I don't know, at least in the show it wasn't too important, really. They didn't make a big deal about it. It was really subtle the way that they announced it, and you just kind of had to pay attention during a whole 20-second clip. If you missed that little bit, you probably wouldn't have known, and it really, I don't know, it really wouldn't have been a big deal either way. So we've got Kagemitsu Daigo, who is Hyakimaru's dad. Kagemitsu is the guy, that is... that proclaimed his fealty to these demons to make him powerful, to make his lands prosperous. And when Hyakumaru is born, he is immediately born disfigured, etc., because of these demons, and then his mother saves him from his father from ultimately sacrificing him by sending him downriver. He is joined by a man named it's Jukai, right?
Yeah, Jukai the doctor guy.
Yeah, Jukai is this man who finds him and raises him from birth, giving him these prosthetic limbs and turning him into a badass ninja fighter. This is an incredibly well done, animated, just brutal samurai flick of a lot of dismemberment and limbs flying everywhere. It's awesome.
It is.
I had an amazing time with this. And then another one of the main characters that comes up a lot too is this older guy named Biwamaru, who they just call him the priest, and he's this old blind guy who just happens to be in the right place at the right time all the time.
I love that guy. He is one of the most badass characters in the show, but he doesn't even get that much time in the limelight. He fights a lot earlier on, but his role kind of becomes more of a reoccurring slight gag character later on, but really cool character. I liked him a lot. Right, and then another big main character here, Tahomaru Daigo. Tahomaru, which is really interesting, that I'll bring that up in a second about something about the word Maru. Tahomaru is also the son of Kagemitsu Daigo, born after Hyakimaru. So Tahomaru is, the
typical child of like the emperor or the daimyo at the time, where he just wants to please his father. He wants to bring honor to his family. He wants, what his dad wants, and he wants to learn, how to rule. So he's trying to be the good son, all the while he knows that his mom and dad are hiding a secret from him, and that is that they did not tell him about his younger brother that was sacrificed.
Older brother.
His older brother that was sacrificed to these demons. They did not tell him. It's just been the secret kept from him for a long time. So he finally discovers what it is, and since Hyakimaru still technically lives and the demons' deal didn't finish, their land is like not prospering as much. So as Hyakimaru kills these demons, their land gets shittier and shittier and shittier. Meanwhile, Hyakimaru just becomes normal. So Tahomaru sets out like fucking Zuko essentially is what I got from him. He's like the original Zuko, him and his two companions, and they just try to track down Hyakimaru and kill him constantly.
And that was a pretty big switcheroo. At first, Tahomaru's like, it's my brother. I understand. Like, how could you essentially sacrifice him for the sake of the land? Like, he's your son. And eventually, he learns that it's him or the entire country that they're a part of, and he eventually decides to join with his father and like, no, you know what, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but your sacrifice is what makes this land prosperous, so sorry, you're gonna have to die.
Yep.
I honestly thought it was gonna be one of those like, no, Dad, I'm gonna save my brother.
Yeah.
But nope, he's like, nah, screw him.
Yeah, it's not a Naruto Sasuke thing, really. It's not quite like that. Even though that's the vibes I was thinking that it was like gonna turn into, but it never turned into any of those like wackier shonen series. It just starts.
No, it's just a very serious show.
It's a very serious show. It doesn't really. I mean, it does get into some really weird, over the top like bullshit, but it's done in a way that it's necessary. It's not like they don't have superpowers. He just fights these demons that are creepy.
Right. I mean, he kind of has super. I wouldn't say so. Another main difference between the anime and manga is he does have somewhat of powers in the manga.
Oh yeah,
he's actually a telepath in the.
So I also heard the manga said something about it's like 48 demons.
Yeah.
Yes, in the original manga, it was 48 demons that stole his body parts, but in the 2019 anime, they decided to reduce it down to 12. And then, of course, the 12th demon, which they don't even give him a name in the anime, is he's the one that didn't finish. For some reason, they don't really explain why he doesn't get his chance.
Yeah, his mother was praying to Buddha, and it was like Buddha was able to save him from one thing, and it directed the attack onto that little Buddha statue.
I have the Wikipedia up in front of me, and I'm still looking around, but I haven't seen anything where it says why. All it says is, with the exception of the 12th demon who failed to take anything from him initially, but then later on he did end up getting some parts.
At least in like the show, like there was, so like when this event happens and his mother is giving birth, during birth is when this the pact comes into play.
She does say like for a brief moment she heard him cry, she saw him, but then there was a flash of white light, and that's when he essentially was torn apart.
Yep. So it's it's really interesting because I think it has to be that it's like the mother's prayer, like something like that, where she because she does save him too. So there is a little bit of her that no matter what is like, okay, as much as like I know what's going to happen, please let everything be okay. And her prayer to Buddha works. So Dororo was originally, like you said earlier, Aiden and Phil, it was originally a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by the manga artist Osamu Tezuka. Tezuka's childhood memory of his friends pronouncing the word Dorobo, which is the word for thief, they couldn't say it right, and I guess they were always saying Dororo, and that's what inspired the title for the series. Dororo was first serialized in Shogakukan's Weekly Shonen Sunday between August 1967 and July 1968 before being canceled. The manga finished its publication in Akita Shoten's Boko 10 magazine it's Bokendo magazine in 1969. A 26-episode anime television series adapted by Mushi Productions aired in 1969. The anime series bears the distinction of being the first entry in what is known as the World Masterpiece Theater series. It's Kalpis Comic Theater at the time. Dororo was also made into a live-action film back in 2007. I literally, I meant to try to look this up, and I didn't.
Oh, wow.
And the same thing with so there's, again, the series we're talking about is the one that was remade in 2019. However, the first series of this aired in 1969. And...
Nice.
Right, yeah, nice. Yeah, but the 2019 one aired from January to June in the year 2019.
There actually was another one, I think, in 67. So there's an anime that came out in 67, and then they adapted that in 69 for... and then this 2019 one is actually an adaptation of the 69 one.
Yeah, yep.
Nice.
So the artwork for this in the 2019 is much more what you would expect from a super high quality series today, like a Samurai 7 sort of vibe. It wasn't there's no wacky over the top designs for this. Everything just looks really, really well drawn. The 1969 one, however, while it still looks cool, it immediately, when I was looking at Dororo, the character, this orphan child, I was like, dude, that straight up looks just like Astro Boy with a weird little tuft of hair. And then, doing some more research later that I'll get into about Osamu Tezuka himself, he was the creator of Astro Boy.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which totally explains why I was like, man, why does that look like Astro Boy? Oh, well, duh. He was the creator of Astro Boy. Super cool. I had no idea about that. But man, this dude was his life was just insane. I have a ton about it. Man, I guess, did you guys have anything else that you really want to mention? Oh, no. So there is something that I did forget about. A bunch of the characters have the word Maru at the end of their name. Hyakimaru, Tahomaru, Biwamaru. So Maru, at that time in Sengoku, Japan, was a suffix for a name and typically meant a representation of a boy or a child before he reaches full adulthood and becomes a man. So Hyakimaru was a teenager, and he's where maybe he could be mistaken for an adult, he is not quite yet an adult.
Right.
So that's the differentiator. Same thing with Tahomaru, but then they don't say anything about Dororo. But that's also because it's a suffix for a boy. So maybe Dororo would have been Dororomaru if he really was a boy. Which is interesting because, again, turns out to be a girl. I guess that's the only weird little thing I had that I thought was interesting. Did you have anything else?
I really didn't have any specific. I just finished the anime this morning, and it's been a crazy week.
Dude, that ending! I was the episode before, episode 25. I was like, how are they going to end this? Because one of them has to die, right?
So hold on, 25, because there's only 24 episodes.
Or maybe it was 20.
Yeah, because I thought there was 23, and then I saw 24th episode come out. So
the original series was 26. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a little bit of me stirring the pot here. I did not like that ending.
Really?
I think it didn't make a whole lot of sense, some parts of it, and I felt it was kind of a cop-out.
I don't know. I feel so it's not the ending you expect, and that goes for either way. Where when I said you would think one of them has to die.
Well, I mean, do we want to go too spoilery
I'm not
into the ending?
say exactly what, but it's just this thing happens where you're I literally never would have thought of that.
I was fine with it. I thought it was...
I felt like certain
cool.
characters died that didn't need to die.
There always needs to be death.
There was a lot of death in the show, man.
There needs to be more.
Yeah.
More blood.
I don't know about that,
it's
man.
It's a Sengoku period, man.
I mean, fair, but...
Dude. Yeah, 100%.
But, honestly, for the most part, I really enjoyed the show. I just think that ending could have been better, but overall, I still think it is a very, very good anime that you should definitely give it a chance to. But here's the thing. I probably would have liked it more if it was dubbed. and I'm gonna say that because
that's just
don't
because
like subbed.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You just didn't watch it at the right place.
Right.
I know. So we can tell you it is subtitled on Amazon. It is dubbed in other places online. If you watch anime and are savvy enough, you could do some Google
Pirates.
searches.
Surrounded by pirates.
It's not piracy. It's on a streaming site. It just has a bunch of ads.
Yeah.
And I guarantee, like, there's if you visit a certain other type of video production company via your cell phone, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I was like, he's not going to talk about the hub.
No, but I guarantee you, if you listen to that and then you think that like going to this other website that's like, you know.
I mean, first of all, that sound effect is universally known.
Yeah, it is. Well, and you know what? I didn't say anything. They don't have like a jingle jangle. It's just a thing, and I don't know. It's
Right.
It's
It's okay, Phil.
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
mean, it's fine. Like, you know, I just
And it's better on the phone too. I will
Right.
say that
And
because on computer it's really annoying.
I really didn't want to
If
watch
you get ad
anime on the
blockers,
phone.
it's totally fine.
I just wanted to watch it in bed while I was going to sleep.
Like
you know,
on your
have it on my TV because I like to do other things on my phone because I have a slight problem with my phone. I like to be on.
We all have a phone addiction.
Diablo.
Let's not even get into that.
I just hit max level. I got into my Shadow Clan. I've beaten the raid. I'm grinding
that
the
end game.
dungeons.
Oh, speaking of video games, so I was telling you about this earlier. There's actually an adaptation video game from this series.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So actually, it came out. Let me see here. Let me go look through my notes real quick.
2004.
2004, yes, September 9, 2004.
Dang,
It's
Phil,
called
the game knowledge.
right.
I have it right up here in front of me. Fun fact: this game there's one listing on eBay right now for this game that came out on the PS2. Ooh, $200.
Right.
Damn.
It's called Blood Will Tell. Tezuka Osamu. DORORO was basically it's basically an adaptation of that. It's on for the PS2. Came out in North America in 2004, September 21st. Was developed by Sega. It basically follows the plot of the manga very well. They just follow the adventures between Hikimaru and Dororo's adventure as they fight through the demons and to regain his human side.
Okay, so it's another retelling of the story. Okay,
basically, yeah.
That's cool though. That'd be fun to play it. What kind of gameplay? Like a third person?
I didn't get into too
slash?
much. I'm assuming since it's PlayStation 2, it's probably like a third person hack.
From the photos that I see here is a third person hack and slash.
Okay.
It looks very much like those oh god, I can't think of the game. It's it's made by Capcom. It was made in the same style as like the Resident Evil games.
Okay.
But just like in that time period, I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, the like Onimusha.
Yeah, Onimusha. It's in the same. It looks like an Onimusha game, but yeah,
I love those games.
it looks like a
it's so
weird
good.
mix of the old like the new style anime, but with the Capcom's usual design aesthetic.
Gotcha.
That's interesting because that was released so much earlier than this than the 2019 adaptation.
It
so
definitely looks
I'm
like.
curious. Like, well, I have to see what it looks like.
Here, let me see if I can.
I think it's
pull
mostly
up.
off that 1969 series. It's basically.
Well, yeah, I guess it's probably a little
yeah, because
closer.
I was wondering what they would base it
right.
off of.
It's off the 48 demons I think they fight instead of the 12. So it's it's
Okay.
split into basically 8 chapters. Different chapters they fight the demons in.
Huh. Yeah, and oh man, and like some of these demons too, we should get into some of those,
Right.
are super cool. Like one of them that
There we
I
go.
loved ended up being like this. It was a shark. He fights like
that
a
one was
giant
awesome.
zombie shark. Oh, okay. Oh, that's.
I'm showing them a picture of the some of the screenshots.
So I would say it almost reminds me of like like Final Fantasy
Right.
11 or no 12.
It
Well,
reminds me of
same thing.
Kotar. Like a
Yeah,
but
Star Wars,
Right.
but actual swords. Grab your vibroblades.
right. Guys, subscribe to our Patreon. We'll upload our photos there.
Hey, yeah, speaking of that, I'm going to shameless plug ourselves here. You can catch us on patreon.com/themenofzen. You can subscribe to us for a whole $3 a month, and you are given one bonus episode every other week, just like our show. So you get 2 free bonus episodes a month that we do back to back, which is a an ass load of work that we're doing for this show just for funsies, just to be entertaining. But for $3 a month, you get more episodes than everybody else, and they are exclusive to Patreon subscribers. You can listen to right there through the Patreon app, or you can also download our RSS feed and plug it into one of your podcatching listening applications. So catch us at patreon.com/themenofzen. Yes, that took me a little while to get set up. I don't have like an advert for that.
That was a pain. Yeah, I remember that was a pain in the ass.
Maybe we'll read maybe we'll record a commercial and then I'll just plug it in every episode.
Right.
Ooh, okay.
Oh yeah. First subscriber gets a picture of Phil's feet, by the way.
Y'all don't want that.
Shoes off.
Like that King of the Hill episode where Peggy like mushes like potatoes with her feet.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Sugarfoots. Oh my god. Yeah. I remember that.
I don't need to think about that ever.
Oh man. But yeah, no, like so the demons are nuts. There's that. It's like an undead zombie shark. There's a giant yokai baby that's like an amalgamation of a whole bunch of dead kids. Like what
A bunch of flaming spirit foxes.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you know what it reminds
cool,
me
though.
of? I don't know if you've played it. Resident Evil 8, The Village.
Yeah.
The baby that's downstairs, the giant.
Oh, the one that just
The scariest
I know.
part in that
Oh, God.
whole game.
I was so disappointed with that. I thought that was dumb as shit.
It reminded me a lot of PT. That whole
Yes,
It gave me PT vibes.
until the baby thing
Until the
showed up,
baby,
and then I
yes.
was like, "Oh, that's weak." And I already knew like the area. As soon as it started giving me places to crawl under, I was like, "Oh, a bed that I can go under for some reason." I was like, "Oh, like an Outlast." Where I'm supposed to crawl under the bed and let something walk past me. So I was like, all right, something, because you don't have your weapons in there. So it was like, all right, you can't kill anything.
Yeah, they kind of set it
I was
up
like,
to
there's
be
got
like
to be
that.
something. Yeah,
That's-
and then there's like a locker you can preemptively get into. And I was like, this is literally, it's just Outlast, but Resident Evil.
But
So
first
I
of all,
knew.
Outlast, great game. Resident Evil 8, great game also.
I'd say 70% great.
I'm just gonna ignore that.
it could have been better. There's room for improvement.
Yeah,
Well, of
there
course,
really
everything's
was.
got room for improvement.
If it was just Dimitrescu Castle and then that cool little horror shack, but the horror shack was actually scary at the end of it rather than get less scary.
Yeah, I'll admit, if they took the last part of the game out with Heisenberg's factory,
That went on and on.
that
and
was
on
way
and
too
on.
long, and I just got really annoyed. At that point, I was like, I'm ready for
Yeah.
this to end.
The castle was cool.
Yeah, the castle was
and the
great.
house was cool. I hated anything to do with the town, the actual village itself.
Oh, dude, I
was like,
loved exploring that.
I mean, there were aspects of it that I thought were neat, but I just thought it got really old with the castle inside, all the cool gold and glitz and
It
fancy
definitely-
staircases. That was Resident Evil. That
It definitely
was
felt
tight.
like a first-person reimagination of Resident Evil 4 in a lot of ways.
It was like enhanced Resident Evil 4. I could see that.
But now we are getting enhanced Resident Evil 4
Right.
later
Which
next year.
is, again, weird. I know I've shared my... I don't think it's bad. I will probably still buy it. It's just, I don't know. I feel like Resident Evil 4 is where they defined what their new type of gameplay is, and that's what they've stuck with all the way through 2 current games that just came out, but now they're redoing 4, but it's not... I don't know. It's like a retelling of a game that they were trying to use as the model for their newer games.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it
not.
just seems strange.
I'm not sure why they did that.
Like, I would have rather have had 0 or Resident Evil 1 redone in, like, these cool first-person horror
Oh
shows
yes, that would have been cool.
than 4. Like,
I still think 4 has some problems that needed fixing.
Aren't they remaking 4?
Yeah, that's,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
what we're saying.
Yeah.
Like they're remaking it, and it's very few minuscule things, but I think I will genuinely enjoy this version a lot more than I did the original.
Yeah, I
But
hope
hey,
so.
speaking of those demons, yeah, I actually have them pulled up here, because we got a lot of info on this
yeah.
anime. The 12 demons, essentially what they took from him, we have Deki, which took his skin, Bandai, which took his nervous system, Lizard Demon took his right leg, Nihil, his ears, Arigi Goku took his voice, Noko Saragumo took his nose, Kyubi, which is the Fire Foxes,
Oh, yep.
had took his eyes, but then were stolen by the 12th demon before that's why like he didn't get anything from when he killed them. Mai Onba took his spine. Shark Demons had his left leg. Nue, the lion part, had his arm, and the snake part of Nue had his other arm. And finally, 12th Demon, who took the things from the Nue and QB.
Now, I know you said they take his spine. I'm still constantly questioning, how does this kid survive?
I was very surprised when that happened.
This doctor's like an amazing god or something. There's no way anyone would survive. You're right.
He shouldn't have been able to move without a spine.
How did he raise this weird Jello baby into becoming a badass
This doctor
warrior?
needs like he just needs to be
Because obviously he didn't get any. How did Hyakimaru get his training? Because it wasn't trained by
the doctor. Did kind of train him. He was like a doctor of war.
Yeah.
He was kind of he's experienced.
Yeah, I did have. So he was a skilled doctor and surgeon, but he also used in the manga he used healing magic and alchemical methods to create his prosthesis for the child who becomes Hyakimaru. In the past, he was actually used to be a torturer and a guy that would do like crucifying for people of his former lord. Later, he discovered he didn't enjoy these acts. It was kind of coming to a point where, well, I mean, in that era, you kind of
you'd have to. If you didn't, you'd be put up there.
Yeah, so it was like kind of a forced thing, and he tried to commit suicide. But when he did, he just kind of this was like this proof unto himself that he was, in fact, like still human. And so from that, he tried to commit suicide and failed, and he was like, no, like, now that I know I tried to kill myself, like, for realsies, I know that this isn't what I really want, and I can actually, redeem myself, is what it is. So that's when he takes in Hyakimaru and raises him. Dude, super cool. Super awesome anime. You got to check this one out on Amazon and other websites. Now, Osamu Tezuka, the creator, writer, illustrator, born November 28th, and is no longer with us as of February 1989. So actually, not too long after I was born. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, born 1928. This was, like I said, really old in terms of his time for manga, because he was the god of manga. He was the eldest of 3 children. The Tezuka family was prosperous and well educated. His father Yutaka worked at a management in Sumitomo Metals. His grandfather Taro was a lawyer. His great grandfather Ryoan was a and his great-great-grandfather, they were both doctors. His mother's family had a long military history. Like, he was set up. He was like the rich kid in 1935. He had to be like, hell yeah, you want to come over to my place and do, I don't know what they had for Bakugan or Pokemon or fucking whatever they had back then. You want to do tops? You want to
play some Pong?
Yeah, dude. Spin some tops back at my place? Oh yeah, dude.
Dude, we need to get some spin tops and just go with some Beyblades now.
Oh hell yeah. Get out, go buy some Bakugan at Walmart.
Didn't you guys buy Bakugans? Or was it?
Years ago.
Years ago.
I did not. That was...
Oh, I did. It was fun because like I thought the show was like, I was younger. I thought the show was like okay, and actually, you know what? I will say to this, I will defend this. I will die on this hill. The original Bakugan game for like 360 and PS3, while incredibly dumbed down, it's still a fun game that I played a lot of hours in, just going through the story and just playing like random arcade matches, and yeah, solid game.
Dude, I fall asleep to it almost every night.
Bakugan?
Yeah. So I recently discovered the Roku device has its own channel called the Roku channel, and there's like 600 different channels on this thing that you get just for freezies, and 3 of them are dedicated to just anime.
Nice.
One is like old Japanese shows only. Another one is like not quite Pokemon, but they'll do Bakugan, Sonic X, just more general like American anime cartoons, and then there's another one. It's like channel 700 and something on the Roku. Oh, it's awesome. There's 3 different ones. Anyway, yeah, I bet Osamu was the cool kid, and you know, probably had all those Bakugan and shit. I could see that.
Right.
Later in life, he gave his mother credit for inspiring confidence and creativity through her stories. She frequently took him to the Takarazuka Grand Theater, which is often headlined the Takarazuka's Review. It's an all-female musical theater troupe, which is why a lot of the female characters in this, I guess realistically, he said it was influential because he liked the costume designs that they had on stage. You know, the different like floral patterns, the kimonos, the accessories, and that was something that had a big influence on his art style. He said that he had a profound spirit of nostalgia for Takarazuka. So that theater is really interesting, which is what I wonder why, if Dororo, you know, again turned out to be a girl, like.
I think a lot of the female characters in this show were very well like drawn. Like they were a lot, obviously, you know, smoother. They had more attention to detail than a lot of the men in this show. Yeah, and that could be maybe part of that. What he was, because if he got inspiration from going there,
right,
might have wanted to draw his female characters differently.
And everything that he does is like in modesty. This is not one of those anime where like the girls have like, you know, boobs hanging out of every orifice of every article of clothing. Like, it's not, you know, about that.
Right.
When Tezuka was young, his father showed him Walt Disney films, and he became a big Disney movie buff, seeing the films multiple times in a row, mostly seeing the famous Bambi more than 80 times. I could not imagine. Now, I mean, I guess as a kid back then, again, honestly, what else were you going to do back in the
I actually never watched Bambi. I know about Bambi. I've actually never seen it.
So. How dare.
I've seen the little clip where Godzilla steps on Bambi. You know what I'm talking about?
It's, yeah, I guess in the long run, there is a forest fire, and Bambi escapes the forest and lives, and is a deer. So there you go. Bambi. Sad old story. Tezuka started to draw comics around his second year of elementary school, in large part by, you know, Disney animation. He drew so much that his mother would have to erase pages in his notebook in order to keep up with his output. Tezuka was also inspired by the works of Suiho Tagawa and Uno Juza. Later in life, he would state that the most important influence on his desire to be an animator was not actually Disney, but the experience of watching the Chinese animation Princess Iron Fan as a child. Around his 5th year, he found a ground beetle known as Osamushi in Japanese, and it resembles his own name that he adopted, Osamushi, as his pen name. Tezuka continued to develop his comic skills throughout his school career. During this period, he created his first adept amateur works. So it was more until like high school. In 1944, Tezuka was drafted to work for a factory supporting the Japanese war effort during World War II. He simultaneously continued to write comics, and in 1945, Tezuka was accepted into Osaka University and began studying medicine. During this time, he also began publishing his first professional works. After World War II, at age 17, he finally did finish his first publication, A Diary of Ma-chan, which was serialized in the elementary school children's newspaper Shoku Kumin Shinbun in early 1946. He then later began talks with fellow comic creator Shichima Sakai, who pitched Tezuka a story based on Robert Louis Stevenson's classic adventure novel Treasure Island. Sakai promised Tezuka a publishing spot from Ikui Shupan if he would work on the comic. Tezuka did finish the comic, only loosely basing it on the original work. Shin Takarajima from New Treasure Island Shin Takarajima New Treasure Island was published and became an overnight success, which began the golden age of comics. Which really, like, the golden age, you know, for them is like the same as, like, you know, the silver or gold age for our stuff over here. But this was back in like the 40s. So their golden age, like, was it's a much different vibe. It's really interesting. While he was still in medical school, Tezuka published his first masterpieces, a trilogy of science fiction epics called Lost World in 1948, Metropolis in 1949, and Next World in 1951. These works featured some early like steampunk elements, which again, really cool. I didn't realize steampunk, like, I know it probably wasn't called that back in that time, but such a long time ago. This one also I thought was interesting. Soon after that, from 1950 to 1954, he also did, have you heard of Kimba the White Lion?
I think I have heard of that.
Yeah. Do you know, like, I don't know if you haven't heard of it. So Kimba the White Lion, and there's a lot of controversy around this, that a lot of people think Disney just straight up stole this for Lion King.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is like, it is dead ass the same movie, but instead it's a white lion instead of Simba, but like all of the same shit happens, and there's a lot of, like, there's some of it's almost like scene for scene. So dude, it's crazy. I really, like, I wonder, like, I mean, considering
I'll have to look into that and see,
right, because he was so inspired by Disney, and then Disney sees his work because it's obviously Disney inspired, and they go, hey, we could do that. There's no way, like, it's too perfect. So I want to say, Disney, shame on you. I think you stole that personally. I think you do. I think you did. You done did it.
And Brent gets assassinated like a week later.
Yeah, probably. Hey, you know what? If our podcast reaches Disney's ears, cool.
I feel like he died on a high.
Later in 1951, Tezuka graduated from the Osaka School of Medicine and published Ambassador Adam, the first appearance of the Astro Boy character. Like I said, he did Astro Boy, 1951. That's it. That same year, Tezuka joined a group known as the Tokyo Children's Manga Association. I can read and talk. Association, consisting of the comic book artists such as Baba Noboru, Otajiro, Furusawa Hideo, Ichi Fukui, and Negishi Komichi. In 1961, Tezuka entered the animation industry in Japan by founding the production company Mushi Productions, a rival of Toei Animation. So this was like where he starts to get like big. Their first film was Tales from a Certain Street Corner, an anti-Disney experimental film. Anti-Disney. Wow. Yeah. You think they caught wind of this as a big rival to Toei Animation, a big animator, and said, fuck you, we're taking Kimba. I could again, Disney, Kimba. I think you did this. Your name just comes up too many times here to not be. It was
tonight,
that mouse is sketchy.
Yeah. Tonight, you see Brent, you just hear that.
Tezuka would often fall behind on his own deadlines, and the staff would have to pick up slack, only for Tezuka to take credit for it later. Wow, kind of an asshole move, Tezuka, but I guess. Tales from a Certain Street Corner was shown at a single special screening and featured many tricks that would be later standardized as labor-saving measures in the anime industry, such as the repeated and reversed animation cycles of characters dancing,
oh, wow.
Yeah, like the moving whooshy background shit, frames being held for long periods of time while only their face or their mouth moves. That was Osamu Tezuka's doing. He's like, we could save a shit ton of time if we just don't animate a bunch of it.
Right. No, I respect the hustle, but damn.
Right.
Oh, man. So the same screening also featured the first screening of Tezuka's Astro Boy. There were 2 initial episodes, 8 weeks before its original broadcast on the 5th or 6th of November 1962. And there's so much about this guy. In the late 60s and 70s, it was clear that the rise of Mushi Pro was a short one, and it was sliding into bankruptcy. Tezuka's financial model was unsustainable, and the company was deeply in debt. In 2 desperate attempts to earn enough money to pay investors, Tezuka turned to the adult film market and produced 1001 Nights, a 1969 film, and Cleopatra, a 1970 film. Both attempts failed. Tezuka stepped down. He stepped down as acting director in 1968 to found a new animation studio, Tezuka Productions, and continued experimenting with animation late into his life. Later in 1973, Mushi Productions would financially collapse. The change of his manga from aimed at children to more literary Gekiga manga started with the yokai manga Dororo in 1967. This yokai manga was influenced by the success of a response to Shigeru Mizuki's Gegege no Kitaro. Simultaneously, he also produced Vampires that, like Dororo, also introduced a stronger, more coherent storyline and a shift in the drawing style. However, much later, fast forward to the future, Tezuka ends up dying of stomach cancer on February 9th, 1989 in Tokyo. His last words were, "I'm begging you, let me work."
Wow.
He said this to a nurse who tried to take away his drawing equipment. Although Tezuka was agnostic, he was buried in a Buddhist cemetery in Tokyo. In 2014, it was reported that Tezuka's daughter, Rumiko Tezuka, opened a drawer to her father's desk, which had been locked since his death back in 1989. Inside of it, she found half an eaten piece of chocolate, a handwritten essay about Kotsuhiro Otomo in regard to his good work on Akira, sketches from his various projects, and a large number of erotic sketches of anthropomorphic animals.
Uh-oh.
Didn't we say something about anthropomorphic stuff in a previous episode? I swear.
Dude, what a weird collection. That's such a strange drawer that he had. Like, I guess, I don't know.
To each his own, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Aiden, what's your opinion on this?
Don't kink shame anyone.
What's in your bed nightstand? Let us know at facebook.com/the Men of Zen. You can tweet at us on Twitter at the Men of Zen.
Subscribe to our Patreon. We'll let you know what's on our nightstand.
Well, I can already tell you some of what I got in there. I have no shame. It's a bunch of old electronic shit. I got a book signed by Brandon Sanderson that's wrapped in 2 Ziploc baggies.
Ooh.
Hell yeah, dude.
Who dat?
Brandon Sanderson?
I don't know who that is.
Oh man, he's like the biggest fantasy book author on the planet right now. He's huge. Like
okay.
The Wheel of Time on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah.
He didn't do that. It was Robert Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
He finished the last 3 books of The Wheel of Time for Robert Jordan when he passed.
Oh, okay.
So Brandon Sanderson, he's big deal. Robert Jordan, the guy who did Wheel of Time, at least before Brandon Sanderson, in my opinion. He was, he was like king shit. And then Brandon Sanderson comes in, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He's so good. I'm finishing up his 3rd book in his Mistborn series in my car, literally on the way over to here.
Oh.
I am hooked. It's book 3. Oh man, his Stormlight Archive. Listen to it if you're a big fantasy buff at all. It's on Audible. They are long as fuck. They're like 50 hours long each, and there's going to be 5 books in Stormlight. There's 4 out now. And then Mistborn, they're like 15 to 20 hours each. There's 3 of those. Actually 6 if you count the second trilogy, which I'm going to start literally after I'm done with this. It's so good, dude. But yeah, Osamu Tezuka, man, what an animal. He had his hands in so many different things that contributed to the art that we know as anime today, which hence, the god of manga, or the godfather of manga. Couldn't believe it.
That's really cool. Did not know any of that.
Right?
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Brent.
You are absolutely welcome. Now, shit, I mean, I guess that's all I had on the writer-illustrator. Did you guys have anything else that you want to add, or things that you want to bring up at this time before I get into the Sengoku period?
Yeah, I do. Something about the whole premise of the show. And maybe I'm an idiot and didn't understand why. So, obviously, his father, Lord Daigo, made a pact with the demons. Here, eat my one child. And I want you to first, make my land prosperous. I want to know, 1, how did they make his land prosperous? Because these demons were still roaming the land and causing destruction and chaos wherever they went. So how did they make his land prosperous? 2, why were the demons just kind of like randomly out and about? Which some of them didn't even seem like they were smart and had like basic function, mental capacities. but apparently they were part of the 12 demons that, made the deal to take his power. And one, I'm still looking on the website right now, and it still does not show like anything as to why the 12th demon just didn't get to finish the last piece, which I guess would have been his literal torso at that point.
It was the Buddha statue.
Okay,
100%. So
we'll go with that.
The end of this, which is actually like the very end, that we might be able to give away that last little bit of the outcome and not how the outcome came to be. So Hyakimaru gets what he wants. He gets everything back. And his father does not die. He does not kill his father, the daimyo. Instead, he imprisons him. And as he's imprisoned, and Hyakimaru confronts him for the last time, in his the Daigo's internal dialogue goes off, and he says something like, I never really would have guessed that the one thing to actually bring prosperity to this land the whole time could have actually just been to let you live, because of his strong desire to live and just experience life to the fullest. But would have Hyakimaru had that desire to live if he was not on the quest to get his body
right
back?
Exactly.
So it's really a strange conundrum where I'm trying to think about would it have turned out differently at all? Because maybe not.
Yeah, and that's something to think about. And just like I said, the whole of how did they make the land prosperous, even though they were still, like I said, out and about causing destruction. And that's why Hyakimaru was able to find him, is that he was searching for demons to kill, and people was like, oh, this demon's causing problems in this village, in this town. It's like, they really didn't explain how or why they made the deal and how they were doing it. It just, I
don't think it's not about that they, you're right. You're using the words prosperous and fruition and all of their, so I guess the point that I would like to get across is that this was during the Sengoku period, a time of heavy war. While the demons were free, there was no war in their land. So being prosperous in that time, I guess, would be simply just the fact that you are able to live and to grow crops. Not that crops were super abundant or that you had riches. It was mostly just that the war was kept away and they could continue life as normal, or at least attempt to build life as normal, as I hit my microphone. So it's just more about that, life continues on as normal, I think, is what I got from it. Because at the end, when Hyakimaru and Dororo are going to get back his last couple of limbs, essentially, and they're stopped by a roaming band of military guys. Or no, it wasn't military guys. It was people fleeing. They were running away, and they're don't you know the war is coming? And that's because Hyakimaru is going back to fetch his last limbs, and this is as soon as he gets those, the war is here, sort of thing.
Yeah, that I get, but it's just how? How are they? Because they also mention how there were bountiful harvests. They got plenty of rain. The pests and
Phil, it's an anime about demons.
They still explain things. At least in other animes that I've watched, they do a better job of explaining how they were able to make it rain. Because near the end of the show, they talk about how it's been dry. There's been no rain. Our crops could start going bad. But it's cool. How did any of those demons somehow have the ability to control the rain, but got their shit wrecked by a handicapped guy with swords on his arms?
I mean, he would fuck up a lot of people, though. He would definitely.
He's hella strong.
Again, I guess the thing that I've always gotten from more Japanese mythology is not that they have magical powers to do these things at will. It's that their existence or being allowed to be free lets these events happen naturally. If a demon is released that created storms, it's not that he would be a giant storm cloud walking around zapping everybody with storms and shit. It's that storms had the potential of coming in like it'd be like the equivalent of like the sun rising and the sun setting when they thought that the sun was a god. It's not that God did this thing to them all the time. It's that God existed and it just happened in a cycle.
Okay, I can...
Or it's not like a mystical power,
Yeah.
it's just that their very being allowed a certain effect or aura to... I keep hitting that microphone, I'm sorry.
I get what you're saying. I just think... I guess my thing is I love that type of anime that, like, it's got me questioning the entire time, like, what's going on, how we get to this point.
Yeah.
And then near the end, they're, like, they're kind of dropping some bombshells about how, oh my god, this is how they were doing that. And I love that... I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and then when they reveal it, I'm like, oh my god, I was right, or oh, I was totally off the mark. I really like those moments where they explain how or why they did something, and this just didn't have that, which, fine. I like that type of storytelling in certain medias.
Right.
So maybe I'm just more used to getting my questions answered in anime than I am in most other forms of media.
This is definitely one of those where the manga has all the information.
Yeah,
Right.
I'd say a lot of it's kind of left out. Mappa overall, though, did a really good job with the adaptation. They did change a few things, like we mentioned earlier, like the demons. Obviously, there's not 48 demons. In the manga itself, I think it actually takes him 50 years to get all his parts back.
Yeah. Yep, it's a long time.
Right.
Because I think there's like a final demon when like Dororo gets a message or something, or no, he does. So Dororo, after like this fight,
Are we talking about Dororo or Hyakimaru?
so both Dotaro and
Okay.
Hyakimaru split up after this, and many years later, finally, Hyakimaru shows back up after he gets his like last bit of his body back, and
Right.
that's like when they're like, I guess that's how it ended, was he gets back with Dotaro, and he's like, I did it, and then he dies like shortly after, like much
Oh,
later,
wow.
like 50-60 years, something like that. Yeah.
That's actually kind of cool. And like a very symbolic ending. He spent his entire life becoming whole, and as soon as he does, he passes away.
Right. I mean, that's what I like about this anime, though. Like, the whole thing is about him just trying to get his body parts to become human, but then at the same time, he's also not becoming human. He's losing a lot of his humanity trying to get that back. I thought it was really cool.
He didn't realize that why he was the way he was until he was told
Right.
by his mother, yeah, we sacrificed essentially your entire body for the prosperity of the land, and at that point he lost it. He got upset, like, you took my entire life away because you wanted to, and that leads to a bigger question of one person's life for the safety and the peace of an entire land. And that's what they talk about this whole time, is pushing it, we get it, it's bad, but we had to do it because our land was dying. You don't understand what hell was. But on the flip side, Hyakimaru went through hell because he had to essentially grow up with nothing, no sight, no smell, no hearing, no skin, no feelings. Apparently he couldn't feel anything.
Yeah, he lost his nervous system.
His nervous system. Like, he lost everything, and he had to grow up so one person had to grow up through hell and experience hell for 16 years while the rest of the land was peaceful. It's a tough concept. Like, would you do that, or would you not? Like, you wouldn't want to live with that for the rest of your life.
I guess it depends on his level of Darth Vader complex. How long did he focus on getting revenge or getting those things back? Like, how strong, like, once he realizes, he can get his things back, he just has to slay these demons. But then to find out it's his family who did it, and then also some of his family has some of those missing items. His brother Tahomaru, one of the last things he gets back is his eyes. His brother Tahomaru has them.
Because he made a pact with the 12th demon.
Yes. Yep. So it's...
that actually brings up another thing. Near the end, I'm not going to go into very much specifics, but one character who already is kind of on the verge of death wants to sacrifice their entire body to the remaining demons to say, hey, you know what? You lost Hyakimaru's body parts. Here, I offer you my entire body. Use me as a replacement. But instead, they don't, because at this point, there's only one demon left. And he's like, nah, instead, I'm actually just going to possess you guys, give you the remaining body parts that I have now, and then to go kill Hyakimaru to get the whole body
get the
back.
rest, yep.
But it's like, okay, I understand that he was the original body for the pact, but bro, someone else was literally in front of you saying, hey, take my entire body. The 12th demon would have, once again, he has no name, we only know him as the 12th demon. He would have gotten the entire body at that point.
Well, that demon's probably seeking vengeance now too, because basically the rest of his like troop is dead.
Right.
So he's pissed.
I mean,
he
fair.
doesn't just want like to be appeased and get what the deal was. Nah, he's getting like he wants that shit.
These things, they have like a god complex kind of thing. They're just like, oh, you fucked us over. We're just gonna like, no one defies us kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, I get that. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just over analyzing, but that's what I've been doing lately with a lot of shows.
Now, something that you mentioned earlier that I totally should have mentioned, which is actually a big part of this, is that again he has no eyes, so he's blind. He doesn't necessarily he has this ability to see. He can see you, but the way he sees is it's essentially the equivalent of like the color of your soul or your aura, and he either sees you as a imagine like TV static, like the black and white, that crackly bullshit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, you know, like he sees you as like weird smudges of gray static, but then if you become red in his vision, that's when you are either a demon or possessed by a demon. And that's what he can see. He can see these auras. Otherwise, he's completely blind. So in a fight, that's literally the only thing he sees is the fight, which is why he's so hyper focused on like he's able to like he's a fighter. He is good.
He can just tell if you're a good person, he's not going to attack you. But if he sees a red aura or anything around you, he's going for the kill.
He also can't feel pain until he got that back. So he's just like fighting through shit. He's like, cool.
Yeah, imagine that. He couldn't see, hear, smell, feel.
He wore
nothing.
this like it was a wooden mask that he had over his face that was painted to look like a face, but obviously showed no emotion.
You imagine how painful that is, just regrowing your skin.
Yeah.
Like, God, are you like his
Every
arm blades? His
single pore.
blades in his arms, and they just grew back. With
his arms just like
God.
come back. Yeah, like oh man, a lot of that regrowth has to be horrible.
Yeah,
because it just happens. Like,
it would be overwhelming too, because he's never heard stuff, and all of a sudden you hear all these noise out of nowhere, and it's like the pain. He has no tolerance to pain.
Yes.
And just,
that was like episode 7 or 8 with the village with this lady that is like this young girl who's a refugee from the war. She ends up kind of becoming the impromptu mother of a bunch of children from a village that was attacked in the war, and these kids are like what remain, and she's kind of in charge of them now. And Hyakimaru had just gotten his ears back, and one of the first things he hears is this girl singing, and he's like, it's so beautiful, I've never heard anything like it. And he just repeatedly asks her to sing for him this really short tune about picking a red flower and putting it in a girl's hair, like to show that you love her, or affection, I'm assuming, of that matter. It doesn't really go into detail, but yeah, super short tune, and he just asks to hear it over and over because it's like it's the most beautiful thing he's ever heard. So it's really cool that I think they did that. But yeah, painful as shit to just grow back where you have no leg. Whoop, there is leg now. But he just like tries it out, like he's trying on new shoes, and he's like, I can walk on it, it's good. Like gives it a couple taps. He's like, we can go a mile or two.
Okay. I just realized something. So he did originally. He had no legs, no arms. They were all prosthetics.
Yep.
And after killing one of the demons, he gets his one of his legs back, and he is not used to having a real leg.
Yep.
And during one of the fights, he actually loses that leg again. Like it gets ripped off. You see it, like it is bitten off, but then later on, that leg is back. Like
it wasn't a demon.
It's not prosthetic.
A demon killed it though. A demon took his leg, right?
Yeah, well, a demon like literally bit it off of him.
I think
again.
he killed that demon and he got it back, right? From that demon killing it, or am I remembering wrong?
I know, because he returns that he's on a
he has like a wooden peg leg thing.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden later on, he gets his leg back. So maybe that was just like they said, fuck it, it regrows back.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Well, because he was also like towards the end, he himself was being referred to as a demon just because he was losing his humanity while on this conquest to get his body back.
Oh yeah, and how he was blamed for like how dare you try to get your body parts back when they're literally the things that are keeping this country safe? Like, how selfish can you be? And that's some fucked up mentality like that.
Dude, right? Absolutely nuts. Yeah, so I guess the next thing I want to talk about here is the actual Sengoku period itself. I loved this. So the Sengoku period was initiated by the Onin War in 1464, which collapsed the feudal system of Japan under the Ashikawa shogunate, the feudal family military government of Japan during the Muromachi period from 1336 to 1573. Now, during this period, although the Emperor of Japan was officially the ruler of his nation and every lord swore loyalty to him, he was largely just a marginalized ceremonial and religious figure who delegated power to the shogun, a noble who was roughly equivalent to a general. Various samurai warlords and clans fought for control over Japan in the power vacuum, while the Iko-Iki emerged to fight against the samurai rule. The arrival of Europeans in 1543 introduced the arquebus, a form of long rifle that appeared in Europe and the Ottoman Empire during the 15th century, into Japanese warfare, and then Japan ended its status as a tributary state of China in 1549. Oda Nobunaga dissolved the Ashikawa shogunate in 1573 and launched a war of political unification by force, including the Ishiyama-Hogen-ji War until his death in the Hanno-ji incident in 1582. Nobunaga's successor, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, completed his campaign to unify Japan and consolidated his rule with numerous influential reforms. Hideyoshi launched the Japanese invasions of Korea in 1592, but their eventual failure damaged his prestige before his death in 1598. Tokugawa, Ieyasu, displaced. Where'd this go? Displaced Hideyoshi's young son and successor Toyotomi Hideyori at the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, and then re-established the feudal system under the Tokugawa shogunate. The Sengoku period ended when Toyotomi loyalists were defeated at the siege of Osaka in 1615. The Sengoku period was named by Japanese historians after the similar but otherwise unrelated Warring States period of China. Modern Japan recognizes Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and Ieyasu as the three great unifiers for their restoration of the central government in the country. Dude, that time period, like you said, would be nuts. Over almost 200 years, 150 years of just war and violence and warlord after warlord trying to dominate other people's territory as soon as it became profitable or the time was right. Just a brutal time in history.
And it wasn't more like you guys know it today. It's no, it was you there. It's just so brutal.
And this was all samurai against samurai. So until again that the gun, the arquebus, it was all samurai swords, and the way of the sword was how they lived. And it was just just ruthless. There would just be body parts all over the fields, absolutely nuts. And then lastly, the last thing I want to discuss real quick is Nobunaga himself. I think we got maybe 10-15 minutes here where we can do this. He was born June 1534 through June 1582. He was a Japanese daimyo and one of the leading figures of the Sengoku period, regarded as the great unifier of Japan. His action in the war gave him the nickname the Demon King, which is a lot of what I think Berserk had ode to is Nobunaga. He was head of the very powerful Oda clan and launched a war against other daimyos to unify Japan in the 1560s. Nobunaga emerged as the most powerful daimyo, overthrowing the nominally ruling shogun Ashikawa Yoshiaki, and as earlier stated, dissolving the Ashikawa shogunate in 1573. He conquered most of Honshu Island by 1580 and defeated the Iko-Iki rebels in the 1580s. Nobunaga's rule was noted for innovative military tactics, fostering of free trade, reforms of Japan's civil government, and the start of the Momoyama historical art period, but also for the brutal suppression of those who refused to cooperate or yield to his demands. Nobunaga was killed in the Honnoji incident in 1582 when his retainer Akechi Mitsuhide ambushed him in Kyoto and forced him to commit seppuku, which is the ritual of inserting a short blade, or I guess just long blade, into one's own abdomen and sliding left or right.
I could never, like, when they showed that in the Netflix documentary I watched, I could never do that. I feel like that'd just be like, people are a different breed back there. So much tougher than we were. Like,
yeah.
And this was like, and they would do this over just like if they know they dishonored somebody enough that they're like, fuck, I have no way of making this up to you other than here, like literally, like it's like, here's my guts.
Yeah,
like it straight up is like, I fucked up so badly. Here is my insides. And it's not about necessarily killing themselves. It's about the act of, spilling their blood in penance. So it's not that they're like, shit, I'm going to die anyway. I might as well do it. No. It's not that. This is for honor. This is for, like, they own up to their shit. Nobunaga was succeeded by Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who, along with Tokugawa Ieyasu, completed his War of Unification shortly afterwards. Dude, such a great... just interesting time period to learn about.
It was, yeah.
You said it was on Netflix?
Yeah, there's a documentary about Nobunaga and like his rise, and then like the person who took after, like kind of the whole area. It was just a really good Netflix documentary.
What was that called? Because I know I watched this. It wasn't like Art of War.
No, it's not. Oh, it's I can't remember the name, but it was just about him like growing up and like his upbringing.
I know there was a Netflix doc. I know for sure it was like a Netflix original docu-series. I just started watching, and it's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I loved every minute of it. Damn, is there anything else you guys want to bring up on Dororo before we do our closing segment here?
No, I'm the studio overall just did a really good job of animating it. I'm really happy because they also are animating another show I'm really excited for, Chainsaw Man. You guys probably heard of it.
Ooh, I didn't know they were doing Chainsaw Man. Okay.
Chainsaw Man. And they also did you guys all seen Attack on Titan the final seasons?
Oh yeah.
No.
Mappa did the Attack on Titan. So the studio did it. They also did Grand Blue Fantasy, the season 2. So they did that. They did that as well as Jujutsu Kaisen. So this studio has done some really good shows. So
okay, solid.
Chainsaw Man.
I like them. Their artwork and their animation style is fantastic.
Yeah, Attack on Titan, like, I know it's really popular. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's, I don't know, it just has never really held my attention.
Way too long. It's now season 4, part 4 or 3 that's coming out.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's because season 4 came out in 2019, I think right before COVID started, and now instead of like finishing up, they're like, oh, guess what? Season 4, part 3 is coming out in 2023. It's like they keep postponing it out as far as they like. There's a lot to cover, but it's like, Jesus, just
is there really that much left? I haven't read the manga for that, so
I have read the manga, and I hope they can do a different ending for it. But that's neither here nor there. It's just it's like you said, it's great. It's great. It's a great show. Just oh my god, they need to end it finally.
Yeah, I don't know. It never held my attention a whole lot.
I hope they keep the ending, because I think you told me about the ending, and I want that ending to happen. Because you know how I like my movies. I like them tragic. And
now that I think about it, it's probably not as bad. But it's a solid. But I get what you mean. Season 3, I think, got me a little it lost my attention. But then season 4 picks up and it gets real good.
Maybe I'll give it another shot one of these times if we do a future episode on it. That'd be cool.
There you go. Eventually, when it's finished in 2028 at this point.
Yeah, we'll be in our. I'll practically be in my 40s.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Well, hey, thank you everybody for listening to our episode on Dororo. We hope you enjoyed this. Again, if you want to hear more episodes released on all of our off weeks, because we release a new episode on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Google Podcasts, all of these every other week. And then on the off week on our patreon.com/themenofzen, you can give us a whole $3 a month to get an episode on those off Wednesdays that are exclusive to our Patreon subscribers. I want to thank Schminkadelic for the use of our intro and outro theme song. Man, what a great show. I'm super glad that we finally got around to this, because this was on my bucket list.
I'm glad you guys watched it because I have been. I love the show. It was such a good show to watch.
Yeah, dude, super good recommendation. We've had to put all of our stuff on like a spinning wheel of choice and just randomly. So there's too many shows.
Random thought out there, but if you guys subscribe to our Patreon, we can put like your little name in a bucket or something and pull your name. You can pick an episode if you guys are interested or something.
Yeah. We'll probably have to do a different tier for that.
Something like that, yeah.
Maybe like 10, 15 bucks. Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right.
Like while we do these episodes, we do these episodes for free. This is a shit ton of work.
Oh yeah.
Dude, like you should see. Like I never wrote essays in high school. I hated it. Every last bit of it. Sometimes I have like 12, 13 pages of just shit for all of these anime on top of the fact that we have to binge this entire show. At least I do. I just straight up, it's almost like work sometimes, but it's fun.
But hey, you know what? Another reason to support the Patreon is your boy is jobless right now, so anything that helps out will be great.
That's why I said he's selling feet pics, guys.
Whatever you want. Venmo.
Have a job idea? Send us a link. Facebook.com/TheManOfZen. Hashtag support Phil. All right, everybody. Thanks again for listening. I'm so glad to have you here with us and hope you enjoyed it. My name is Brent.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Aiden.
This has been The Men of Zen. Stay Zen.